wondered if you could be hypnotized? Hypnosis and Its Reality. Hypnosis and What It Does to and For Us by Emma Degelman. An analysis of the article by Rajnikant Panda, Audrey Van Hodenhuis, Andrea Peerwoolley, Jidka Anen, Athena Demirci, Naji Alnagar, Sharivas Shanu, Stephen Lories, Marie Elizabeth Faymanville, and Olivia Gosseries. Have you ever wondered what happens to the brain when hypnotized? What goes on up there when we enter this altered state of consciousness? Take this image, for example. Stare into the center of it for a few seconds and quiet down. Does anything happen to you? Maybe you start to disassociate? Maybe nothing does. With the help of a hypnotist, something sure would. So, why? What happens in our brains for this outer-worldly experience to take place? This is the exact question the researchers of this journal article had, and the exact thing we will be covering today. So, what were the methods used to answer this question? Well, first they took 12 healthy participants and measured their hypnosis susceptibility using the Hypnosis Liege scale and the Stanford Hypnotic Susceptibility Score. If participants were easy to hypnotize, they were used in the study. Something I found interesting is that people who are better at focusing on one thing, so people who are bad at multitasking, like myself, are easy to hypnotize. Hypnosis is all about focus, so if you've ever wondered if you could be hypnotized, just take a look at your multitasking skills. Anyway, 3 participants ended up being taken out of the study, so we're left with 6 women and 3 men of high hypnotizability. The researchers then proceeded to attach electrodes to each person's head, and using the EEG test, they recorded each person's brain waves. They then hypnotized them for 5 minutes, recorded brain waves, and then recorded the same waves during 5 minutes of a normal conscious state, in order to see the differences in the brain. So, what did they find? Well, there was a lot of good information I could touch on, but the most important question is whether they validated their hypotheses or not. The researchers first hypothesized there would be decreased connection in the midline regions of the brain. This region is what processes internal and external awareness. So, did they hypothesize correctly? They sure did. They found extreme decreased connection, similar to the brain in a state of meditation. Interesting, huh? The researchers also guessed that there would be increased delta brainwaves in the frontal and frontoparietal areas. Once again, they guessed correctly. This increase of brain waves is what causes heightened mental imagination, self-absorption, and lowered body and mind control. Their third and last hypothesis guessed that midline and frontoparietal brain regions connectivity will be greatly associated with an enhanced state of consciousness. Once again, they showed their expertise by guessing correctly. Last but not least, our critiques. While this article did give a lot of good information, there were definitely places it fell short. While I only found strengths within the source of the article as it was recent and published by a trusted journal, I found a lot of weaknesses within the participants. The blaring ones were that the sample size seemed much too small to get adequate results, as well as there being twice as many women as men, which could definitely create varied conclusions. There was also just a lot of information missing, such as the racial breakdown and socioeconomic status of the individuals, as well as the location and method they were selected being omitted. All of these things combined raised suspicion into how solid these participants really were. The devices and technology used within the method section was strong. However, there were a couple things that this section did that may have altered the results. For example, the researchers only hypnotized the participants for 5 minutes, which does not seem like long enough time to get through our results, as well as hypnotizing participants first before recording the normal state, which could have altered their normal consciousness if hypnotic brainwaves were still left over. The results were mostly strong, except for not giving the results for tests they said they did in the method section. It was only 2 tests, graph theory analysis and phase lag index. However, the reader definitely could have profited from knowing these results. Lastly, their discussion section was extremely strong. They managed to add every aspect they needed, such as their goal, summary, critiques on their own study, and tips for future studies, which left me with no weaknesses to find. Thanks for watching my PsychTalk. Hope you enjoyed.